Welcome to DABCC Radio,
where smart people listen.
Virtualization and Cloud Talk,
Featuring cutting-edge solutions from the hottest companies around the globe.
broadcasting from the DABCC offices in sunny Sarasota, Florida.
Surrounded by computers, books, and Legos.
A Microsoft MVP, Citrix Charter CTP, VMware vExpert.
And your host, Douglas Brown.
Hello, everyone. I'm Doug Brown, and today we're going to talk about mobility and specifically VMware AirWatch. We have on Dan Huber from WWT Worldwide Technology and Christopher Campbell from VMware in their mobility group. And we're going to talk all about AirWatch and what that means to you and how WWT can help you with that and much more. And this is also the first podcast in a series of podcasts that I personally am going to be doing with the folks over at WWT and VMware. And so we're going to be bringing you tons of stuff. Definitely stay tuned. We have a whole series planned. And with no further ado, let's just kick this thing off talking about VMware AirWatch mobility and, again, WWT with Dan and Chris. Here we go. For my first question, as always, on any podcast I ever do, is who are you? You know, I want to know who I'm talking to, and the listeners want to know who they're listening to. So let's go around the horn. Dan, who are you, and what do you do over at WWT?
Yeah, well, thanks, Doug. First of all, I just would like to introduce myself, Dan Huber with Worldwide Technology. I'm on our mobility practice here, and I am one of our technical architects. So do a lot of pre-sales activity in the mobility space around wireless, cloud-managed wireless, secure mobility as it relates to enterprise mobility management solutions. And then what are we doing around application frameworks and deployment methodologies there? I've worked for Worldwide for about 4 years and previously worked for Apple and Sports Illustrated.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love your pass. Apple and Sports Illustrated. That's great stuff. Chris, who are you and what do you do over at VMware?
Yeah, thank you for the intro. My name is Christopher Campbell. I'm a director of product marketing for enterprise mobility at VMware. Don't let the marketing and my title fool you. I've definitely been in the industry at a long time and I have a pretty interesting background. For the last 18 years, I've done a little bit of everything from technical support to technical account management to engineering to product management and now product marketing. At VMware, I focus, of course, on enterprise mobility, but I especially delve into the mobile security aspects of enterprise mobility. I lead product marketing for a couple of our initiatives around AirWatch and NSX integration, the Mobile Security Alliance, and some of the other security initiatives that we have.
Yes, Chris, you're a very technical man. And Dan is also, and I'm quasi-technical. So let's have a fun conversation. So MDM and EMM, mobile device management, enterprise mobility management, it's really all the rage right now, right? Can you believe that there's 14 EMM vendors in the Gartner Magic Quadrant today? 14 of them. That's insane. So that being said, what are some of the key components that would drive an organization to actually consider investing in AirWatch?
Yeah, Doug, it's a great question. And Chris, feel free to chime in. I think that, one of the things that we see at a high level is MDM being born from that consumerization of technology, right? So, these devices coming in, being organically adopted in an enterprise, and you have these challenges ongoing around securing mobile access, mobile data, both at rest and in transit. And I think this really started with iOS, but it's grown beyond that to include the more pervasive operating systems in enterprise like Android and now Windows 10. And then beyond this, you're still seeing some of those enterprise use cases and business drivers for BlackBerry management. I would say these are really in highly secure federal, DoD, and also finance sectors. And this really all maps back to how do we ensure great user experiences across these device types and operating systems while really ensuring IT security and governance standards. And I would say AirWatch meets this need holistically. They support every single use case we've called out here on every major platform. And they've also worked really hard to bridge some of the often overlooked gaps. So that would include things like desktop management for OS 10, Windows 10, and then also Chrome OS. And it's really interesting, Chris and Doug, when you take a step back, how much AirWatch as a platform supports these multi-device environments in sustaining that clean kind of single pane policy-based management. I would say there's multiple benefits for both users and IT admins alike, and it doesn't even really begin to touch on some of the capabilities AirWatch has when you extend it with things like Identity Manager or the partner and integration ecosystem VMware is really driving. It's really compelling, very interesting space.
Dan really hit the nail on the head. If you look at the way how we worked 10 to 15 years ago to the way how we work now, business productivity, agility, and even security has really redefined the way how we have to approach getting access to our applications and data. If you think back, just probably 10 years ago, to work, you probably sat in your cubicle, you sat in front of a PC. That PC was connected to an Ethernet cable, and that Ethernet cable was communicating to some data center that was probably inside the building. Everything has changed with regards to business productivity. Now, everyone is mobile. They're on mobile devices. They're connecting to cloud services. They're connecting to internal resources. And if you think about the plethora of devices that you now have to support, it's everything from the typical Android, iOS, even to, as Dan mentioned, laptops, to now the Internet of Things. Anything that has a network connection is something you potentially have to manage, secure, and figure out, how is it utilizing my resources? Is it safe? Has it been hacked? There's a lot of things that you have to take into consideration. And this is what AirWatch really does for a lot of our customers. It really gives you a flexible way to manage a broad array of devices from, one multi-tenant console.
You guys got it. You got it. And you mentioned security too, and security is definitely one of the core drivers behind, mobile device management, right? But you also mentioned end user experience, and end user experience is really, at the end of the day, the most important piece. Can you talk a bit about, some of the attributes of AirWatch that really drive that ease of use for the end user?
Yes, that's a very good point. In fact, if you think about security and productivity, those things go hand in hand. In fact, one of the things that I've seen throughout my career is that you could have the most secure solution, but if it's not easy to use, user adoption will be an ultimate failure. So how do you deliver a very secure product, but at the same time, have that user have that consumer-like experience that they're used to when they're using a mobile device? And one of the key ways to do that, and Dan mentioned this earlier, is identity management. If an organization is still managing passwords, they're living in the past. Not only is it cumbersome, complex, but it's ultimately not secure. If you think about that movie Minority Report and you think about Tom Cruise walking through that mall, one of the things that stood out to me was that the security was automatic. It knew who he was, it knew his preferences, it knew whether it needed to give him access to resources, so forth. And that's the way how security has to be. In fact, that's what identity management delivers. It delivers a comprehensive way to get access to all the different type of applications you need, whether it's mobile applications, whether it's web applications, SaaS applications, Windows virtualized applications. And with the Workspace ONE app, AirWatch is actually able to deliver that in one simple, easy to use dashboard.
Chris really called a lot of it out in terms of capabilities. I think one of the interesting things is from that user experience piece you mentioned, Doug, is they're not going to notice a difference. They're not going to really see a different container of data. Obviously, on the back end, it's working in that capacity to containerize the data, whether it's personal or work, and maybe we're whitelisting or blacklisting certain applications to talk or not talk to one another. But from a user experience, from that single pane of glass, from the device and from the operating system and from the applications you see on the device, it's going to look very clean, and it really will be something that the user benefits from. They won't be encumbered by having all these different applications that you're going in through maybe multiple authentications to get access to data, right?
You got it. So you also mentioned the vast amount of devices we have nowadays. I mean, just sitting on my desk, I have 4 devices. This is crazy. Just in front of me, in my eyesight, I got 4 devices. But you can also throw Windows 10 into that nowadays, because Windows 10 has the ability, or AirWatch, I believe, has the ability to manage Windows 10. Can you guys talk a bit about that? Sort of interesting.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is one of the things that we've seen a lot of interest from users and enterprises alike over the last few years. Some enterprises, there's some pretty big data points out there around enterprises waiting to actually upgrade to Windows 10. So they're waiting on both the hardware and the operating system so they can do everything in one fell swoop. And I go back to, with Windows 10, across device types, right? You've got Windows 10 on laptop, tablet, and mobile, and they're trying to create these very seamless, unique experiences on each one in terms of data, the applications you're experiencing, and those enterprise resources Chris called out. And AirWatch has done a very good job of embracing that model alongside Microsoft to kind of help enable that and really make that workplace and workforce enrollment very easy and very turnkey for the users. And again, making it scalable when you're deploying however many devices on network running Windows 10.
If you think about what Microsoft has done with Windows 10, they've really redesigned the way how you think that a mobile operating system, a laptop, and how a PC should look, feel, and work. In fact, one of the things that's pretty unique is that there is no drop off from experience as you move from a PC to a laptop to a phone. And one of the things that AirWatch is able to do is it's able to take that experience that Microsoft deliver, that log on to any device and manage it. Now that you have devices out there that you can get access to resources across a wide array of different device types, one of the things that you want to do is you'll need to deliver applications to that device, secure the communication from that device, and also figure out device posture. Where is that device located? Is it doing the right things? Is it on the proper network? And that's one of the things that AirWatch really does well. It's able to take any type of Windows 10 device, and whether it's a smartphone to a tablet to a PC, and manage it, push the applications to that device, and really from one dashboard deliver any type of application in a seamless experience to all of your users. So that way companies looking to accelerate their Windows 10 rollouts, or even adopt Office 365, can do so securely from one platform.
That's great. In fact, one of the devices on my desk is a Microsoft Surface running Windows 10. So, what do I say? So, to that effect, don't some of the competing vendors solve, these existing challenges already?
That's a really good point, Doug, and Chris can certainly chime in here. I think that, that comes with, I think some of them do, to answer your question, but I think it comes with somewhat of a separate set of limitations. You might call them gotchas for IT. We called out consolidated management or single pane, which is really big with today's IT organizations. So they're looking at unified endpoint management. And today, often the way it works is we're not setting up these device policies or application deployments or even management in one streamlined interface, but it's really a disparate set of systems, somehow tying them all together with extension agents or port level access. And you're really kind of making some additional challenges for your IT organizations. And at a granular level, this might only solve reporting or analytics in one place, but we're really missing other components around unifying that endpoint management plus the reporting plus analytics in one interface and dashboard. And I would say, simply put, AirWatch does this. Powerful dashboard analytics tools. They add the capability to create custom reports across deployment scenarios. And it isn't really scalable for IT to administer or manage, in multiple legacy systems, as you guys know. Some might need to revisit the old methods and maybe validate that these can't be solved in lighter weight deployment models. And the last point I would say is this really frees up resource time. It frees up those constraints they might have today. They really want to be focusing on innovation efforts the business needs from IT independent of some of these ongoing, typical administration challenges they have.
Yes, very valid points. In fact, if you think about the way how enterprise mobility has changed over the years, enterprise mobility went from, managing devices being kind of very niche to being much more than that. So if you think about true comprehensive end-to-end enterprise mobility management, there's a couple of things that you probably need to do. One, you need to trust the user, identity management. You need to manage the endpoint, basically, understand the device and figuring out the device posture. You need to securely deliver any application. And when we say any application, we mean any application. Anything from Windows applications to mobile applications to virtualized applications. And these virtualized applications may even be from competitors. You may need to deliver Microsoft RDSH applications, Horizon applications, or even Citrix XenApp applications. Really simplify that experience for a user. In addition, you're going to need to protect the data center. It's one thing to protect the device, but are you protecting the transport and eventually where that communication terminates inside the data center? In addition, you may need to detect cyber threats. Now that, you have all these different devices that users are getting access to, how do you eliminate zero-day threats across all these various platforms? And if one thing is, one thing is mobile device management and EMM, but it's another thing to actually really use the latest security intelligence to act against those threats. And then last but not least, how do you maintain that security hygiene with all your devices? There's a reason why AirWatch is the leader in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, not only in vision, but in execution. And it's because we've taken all of these capabilities and we've either included them in our product or integrated them within our product. Products such as identity management now is a core part of the AirWatch product. It integrates with VMware Horizon. Identity management can also, aggregate your Citrix XenApp and also your Microsoft RDSH applications. Our networking solution, VMware NSX, integrates with the platform, allowing you to segment and segregate data from your mobile application inside your data center. So you have that additional layer of security. We integrate with the top leading security providers in the industry. If you think of whether it's Palo Alto Networks, Checkpoint, FireEye, we integrate with those solutions so you can get the latest security intelligence and deliver that information to your devices. So, we've taken a very complex ecosystem, and what we've done is we've simplified that user experience, not only for our users, but more importantly for administrators. Because it's one thing to have a product that you love to use, it's another thing to administrate. Does it integrate well with each other? Does it work well with each other? Are you worried about a lot of different SLAs with different vendors? And, by integrating all these products within the VMware portfolio, we've really created a seamless way that AirWatch can deliver enterprise mobility management on a lot of different levels.
Yeah, you got it. Integration is definitely the key. And I mentioned earlier end user experience being, the most important part, because at the end of the day, IT is tasked with, supporting the end user. But we can't forget the administrator. We can't make it so complex or kludgy or just holes in the, gaps there, right? So we briefly touched on the partner ecosystem. What is VMware AirWatch doing to drive further partner integration support into their platform?
It's a really great topic that I think it transitions us away a little bit from what Chris talked about, but I think it just shows that VMware commitment to their partners in this space. They know that some customers have standardized on certain platforms, if it's Cisco network or Cisco wireless, things like Cisco's identity services engine. VMware is still working hard to integrate with identity services engines so that you can still leverage some of the policies that might be in place today, some of those legacy policies that you're using with ICE, and integrating those with AirWatch so that then you can basically baseline, the requirements for enrolling a device on network and allowing access. You need to understand what operating system it's running. Is it compliant? Is it jailbroken? Is it rooted, et cetera? And some of the other partners in the space that they're doing similar work with is F5. Their big IP APM manager. Great integrations there as well. And then I would ask Chris too, maybe just some commentary on the app config community. I know that VMware and AirWatch have really been leaders here. I'm curious to hear his thoughts on some of those integrations and then the app config as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. In fact, let me jump directly into the app config community. One of the things AirWatch has done there is really created this ecosystem of partners and even competitors, which is amazing when you think about it, that work well together to flush out the native capabilities that you can use from a device with regards to enterprise mobility management. So what does this mean for customers? Basically, what we've done is we've created an ecosystem of partners that allows us to standardize on the native security capabilities. And it doesn't matter whether you're using AirWatch or even a competitor, we get manufacturers to build APIs to those capabilities that you can seamlessly use across a lot of different type of platforms. And that is key when you think about the future of mobile adoption and managing and supporting it. One of the things we've also done is, we've created what we call this Mobile Security Alliance. And this Mobile Security Alliance has some of the top security leaders with regards to app security, endpoint security, network security, and even cloud security. Those are cloud access security brokers. And what that does is that gives you that additional level of threat security that you can integrate into your solution. And it goes on. We have a vast ecosystem. If you think about anything from, certificate management or telecom expense management, we have partners that specialize in those that can give you that additional granular level of EMM functionality that you're looking for that can drive mobile productivity and mobile adoption. If you think about even our cloud storage providers, whether it's Box, Dropbox, Office 365, Google Apps for Work, we've integrated with those partners. So if you need to securely deliver content, you can do it, from one user interface instead of having to use multiple different tools. So, we're constantly building out that ecosystem of partners. Anything that touches, whether it's application security, devices, identity management, content, to really deliver a comprehensive set of tools that, if we don't deliver it, you can seamlessly work with some of our partners to get that functionality.
Chris, and the only other thing I would add to that is it's really amazing to see the commitment VMware is making there. They're building this phenomenal stack with Horizon, with Workspace ONE, with Identity Manager, and obviously AirWatch, enabling some of those mobile experiences. But it's that ecosystem you called out. It's almost ecosystem as a platform, right? You're building in all these very robust, comprehensive integrations. It's really amazing to see the work that you're doing there in that space. It's a commitment to the IT organizations, as well as those partners in that ecosystem. It's really great.
Yeah, in fact, I'll take a quote from Sanjay, who calls us the Switzerland of enterprise mobility management, and it makes sense. One of the things, if you look throughout the industry, is there is no one-stop shop to do everything anymore. It is literally impossible. No one company or provider can build all the capabilities that an organization needs. But if you create the capability to integrate with other solutions and leverage other solutions, I think that is probably one of the most compelling things that any vendor can do in the space. And that's one of the things we try to achieve here at VMware.
So as we're exploring this ecosystem, it seems that AirWatch could go even further to complement things like extensibility and even multi-tenancy for IT. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I think this is, this goes a little bit further with that ecosystem discussion, but also really talks about what AirWatch is doing to create centralized management, but also allow some extensibility of their platform using things like, the secure email gateway, to allow for proxied access into these resources. They're also doing really compelling things around cross-domain and Kerberos-based authentication. And I think this is a very good use case for those highly complex federal and perhaps DoD deployments, where you're having multiple Exchange and or Active Directory environments, and you need to create a unique authentication each time. So you're creating that trust. And then lastly, and I think Chris mentioned this, it's around those APIs. AirWatch has built the native REST and SOAP APIs directly into their platform so that you can extend it beyond what's happening in that space. And what really is happening, I feel like, with IT today is customizing that experience and creating your own integrations and leveraging, some of the management that you can do, but also some of the custom integration you might be able to do with data sets in your own environment. And then that last piece around, scalability, what AirWatch is doing with multi-tenancy, they are really the leader there. I can't look to anyone else that's really focused on multi-tenancy across geos as well as the role-based access. It's really dynamic the way they built that into the framework.
Yeah, and just to touch a little bit more on multi-tenancy, to put this in a little context, to deliver zero-day support for any mobile operating system updates or any changes to a partner's platform, one of the things that AirWatch and VMware has done is really develop the relationship with these partners. And we've done that by providing not only the tools and resources, but the ability to test, integrate, and package these solutions as they get updated. So, whether you're trying to enable, mobile productivity, security, management with some of these other solutions, we've really created a platform that allows you to integrate these changes and make updates to them in a very easy fashion that allows organizations to not have any downtime when, upgrading to different partner solutions.
Perfect. So let's move this discussion on to services and support. So what is VMware and WWT doing together to better support customer interest in uncovering capabilities and enabling hands-on learning around AirWatch beyond things like this podcast?
That's a great question, Doug, and I think it's really representative to what Chris mentioned about that partner support. Whether it's OEM partners or integrator partners like a Worldwide to VMware, there's a huge commitment on both sides to driving those capabilities and that that sales support and also ongoing support for customers, whether it's early adopter or if it's post sales. A couple of things that Chris can certainly chime in on as well is that partner VMware Partner Test Drive Portal. They're doing some amazing kind of turnkey deployment options for customers and partners alike to learn within these different tool sets, whether it's AirWatch or Horizon, Workspace ONE, Identity Manager. And you can basically set these up on the fly and do some enterprise integrations using VMware's Test Drive Portal.
Yes, he touches on a very good point there. One of the things that we've been making a lot of strides in is not only customer enablement, but also partner enablement. So, we've created a lot of tools and resources, that allow our partners to not only test the product, but to actually learn about the product. And we've actually done that on a very good level for some of our customers also. Any product within the VMware product portfolio, especially AirWatch and some of the related solutions that you may utilize with it, whether it's identity management or whether it's NSX, you can test those solutions for free. And what that really does is it not only gives our customers and our partners the ability to get a hands-on feel and look at how these products integrate with their environment, the product feature set and functionality, but it allows them to get comfortable. And that's key. We're so confident that, our solution will deliver on all the capabilities and use cases that our customers and partners are looking for, that, we've really opened it up and really created an easy way to, onboard and test our solution.
So, Dan, I hear a lot about this ATC thing you guys have going on. Can you talk a bit about this? What is it, and what does it mean to all of us?
That's a great question, Doug. And it's one of those things that it's has a reputation that maybe precedes itself. To your point, the ATC is our Advanced Technology Center in St. Louis, Missouri. It's over $100 million investment in total actual hardware assets in the facility. So over 300 racks of data center, server, storage, compute, networking gear. And we have a huge lab investment with VMware in this environment. And so we actually have the entire Horizon 7 enterprise suite, includes integration with Identity Manager, Workspace ONE, and AirWatch. And I think, if we take this to the next phase, or if we talk about deeper integrations or more complex deployments, for customers, one of the things that we can offer is proof of concept. So depending on what your environment looks like, we can replicate some or all of your environment in our data centers here for dedicated testing, dedicated proof of concepts. And we can also take that a step further in lab services. So we can push this out a little bit more against your test use cases. What are you trying to solve in your environment? Is it something with an integration, or is it a migration, or is it something a little bit deeper around enterprise access and creating maybe role-based access, depending on the environment? And the follow-up to that would be, we provide a lot of project analysis, also ROI metrics, a real formal document around the overall POC and lab findings. And that's really in the interest of helping customers move forward with better knowledge in their deployments, upgrades, and those integrations I called out.
Yes, in fact, just to touch on that, WWT has been one of the pioneers in helping VMware customers truly extend their end user capabilities or enterprise mobility management solutions in their environment. And they've done this in many different ways. If you take a step back and think about how you have to approach transforming your organization, whether it's from an infrastructure assessment to assessing the needs of the business, to then designing and building out that infrastructure, launching it and supporting it and maintaining it. WWT really brings that expertise and the capabilities to customize that for a solution. So, you're not getting, a canned way of delivering the solution. They're really personalizing that assessment and deployment for you to really, suits the needs of the organization. And then, of course, couple that with, having an industry-leading solution being delivered in your environment, really gives you that satisfaction and comfort in knowing that, you've really not only addressed the business requirements, for your organization, but also given IT the tools that they can use to support enterprise mobility and give users an environment that they can love and enjoy.
That just sounds great. That's really great. If somebody wants to learn more about the ATC, what do they need to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would go to WWT.com and explore some of the service capabilities we have, either through the ATC or the ITC as well. So the Integration Technology Center, and that's kind of your second phase of this when you get into maybe a more programmatic approach and deploying resources for customers. Or you can certainly follow up with us. We'll help you with that.
Perfect. On that note, I think we'll call this an episode. And guys, we're in listeners out there. We're actually doing a series with WWT and VMware, and the next podcast we're doing is actually going to be around Workspace ONE. So definitely stay tuned. Dan, anything to add about the series and about the next podcast? Maybe a little teaser.
Yeah, I think you'll learn a little bit more about what we're doing in the ATC, the environments that we've built. And Chris mentioned this, but just the highly dynamic approach that we take when it comes to building these environments and really customizing that per the customer needs. We've got some fantastic experts coming forward to work with you on that podcast. That's Andrew Ridner and Jared Brummer, some of my counterparts on our EUC and VDI practice. They're very good guys and really know their stuff around this topic.
Well, that's great. I definitely I enjoyed this podcast. I want to thank both of you for taking the time to be with us today. I want to thank, of course, the listeners, but I'm really looking forward to each one of these and definitely the Workspace ONE stuff. That's very interesting technology. So I'll go ahead and give you guys the last word and call this an episode.
Well, thank you again for your time, Doug Brown. It was a pleasure. I hope we've really given you a good overview of AirWatch and some of the capabilities that WWT can help deliver for you with regards to enterprise mobility.
Dan?
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much, Doug and Chris. This has been great.
Thank you. And of course, I thank both of you. So thank you, and thanks to the listeners. That concludes our discussion with WWT and VMware on why AirWatch. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And again, I would like to thank my guests for today, Dan and Chris. Great job, guys. I really enjoyed it. And I hope everyone out there listening enjoyed it also. And don't forget, this was part 1 of our series with WWT and VMware. So stay tuned for part 2 coming soon. And this is, again, going to be on Workspace ONE. So definitely be looking out for that. Can't forget, please visit dabcc.com for the latest and greatest mobility, VMware, AirWatch, mobile, but also virtualization, desktop, cloud, application, security, storage, news and support resources. Updated daily. It's just a great place for you to go and keep up to date with what's going on in our industry. And on that note, again, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to DABCC Radio.
Can you say DABCC?
DABC.
Say it again, DABCC.
DABC.
Can you say it again, DABCC?
DABC.
How about DABCC?
DABC.
DABCC.
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 DABCC.